My name is Sean Matthews, and I'm up here tonight because I came in last place in my fantasy football league. There's a correlation between how good you are at fantasy football and how much of a fucking loser you are. I'll give you some examples. Oh, no. He was at the bar watching the game, and his girlfriend ordered a Pinot Noir, and the bartender accidentally brought her a Pinot Grigio. And being the gentleman that he is, he drank the Pinot Grigio for her, only to watch the Redskins come back and win. And then he drank nothing but Pinot Grigios for the next 3 weeks.
In honor of Super Bowl week, please enjoy the full stand-up comedy routine that I had to do at a comedy club in DC a few years ago as a punishment for coming in last place in my fantasy football league. Let me know how much I suck, subscribe and turn on notifications for the Matthews Report, and let me know in the comments what the worst last place fantasy football punishment you've ever heard is.
Good evening. My name is Sean Matthews, and I'm up here tonight because I came in last place in my fantasy football league. It's just tough because it was one of the most important things in my life. The season got off to a rough start. The night of the draft was one of the biggest conflicts of my life. I had the draft, and I also had the championship football game for the DC Cray Summer League football. And didn't know how to deal with the conflict, and didn't know how to break the news to my teammates, so I did what any good teammate would do. I showed up for the kickball game for a few minutes until it was time for the draft, and then I took off running in a full sprint and just ran away without saying anything. And I ran off into the DC sunset and went on to draft one of the worst fantasy teams ever assembled. It's really hard when you to be so bad at something that you care so much about. In fact, most mornings when I would wake up and I'd be walking from my bed to the shower, the first thing I'd be thinking of would be my fantasy team. Why did I ride it out with Derek Carr at quarterback the entire season? So it just got harder and harder to look at that guy in the mirror. But turns out, good news for me, and on the bright side, that there's a correlation between how good you are at fantasy football and how much of a fucking loser you are. And the guys in my league, the other guys in my league are really great proof of that. And I'll give you some examples. Oh no! I came in last place in my fantasy football league, but at least I'm not like this other guy who won the league and had to buy disinfectant spray for the trophy because he was sleeping with it in his bed for an extended period of time after the season. Kind of a loser, but a great fantasy football player. I lost a game last season by 110 points. The other team scored 110 points more than my team scored. But at least I'm not the guy in my league that I lost to who shortly after the game went on vacation with his girlfriend to Hawaii, and a picture surfaced of the trip, and they're dressed up on the beach. She's wearing a dress. It's a nice picture. It looks like a nice picture until you examine it more closely and you look at his lower body, and he's wearing cargo shorts, dress socks up to about mid-calf, and basketball shoes bigger than my head. Kind of a loser, but a very good fantasy football player. I lost a game last season to a team that forgot to set their lineup. Again, I'm not sure how familiar people here are with fantasy football, but basically the guy just didn't do anything, and he beat me. He had like 2 or 3 guys that weren't playing, but at least I'm not the guy in my league whose name is Addison. What kind of name is Addison for a guy anyway? Am I right? Great fantasy football player though. Actually, not really. This team kind of sucks this season. He's a good guy. I had not just the worst draft of the season, but like I said, one of the worst drafts anywhere in the country probably for fantasy football. But at least I'm not the guy in the league who talked about the draft every single day for an entire year and then took off work the day of the draft just out of pure excitement and exhilaration and went out on the town drinking and partying all day. and then showed up 45 minutes late to the draft and missed his first round pick. Great fantasy player, though. I had the worst team. I had the worst team in the history of my league, in the storied history of my league. But at least I'm not the guy in my league who's a delusional Washington football fan. And one Sunday, when the hometown team was going through a particularly tough stretch, he was at the bar watching the game, and his girlfriend ordered a Pinot Noir, and the bartender accidentally brought her a Pinot Grigio. And being the gentleman that he is, he drank the Pinot Grigio for her, only to watch the Redskins come back and win. And then he drank nothing but Pinot Grigios for the next 3 weeks.
That's me. That's me.
Great fantasy player and an even better commissioner. Commissioner-oriented guy. Great commissioner.
First world problems.
I drafted Antonio Brown in the second round. Again, not sure how familiar everyone is with fantasy football, but he didn't really play last season. But at least I was able to go to 4 consecutive years of high school without getting expelled. Yeah. And the good news is I don't have to single anybody out because I'm pretty sure there's a few people in our league that got expelled. Nothing personal on anybody. But yeah, I was able to go to 4 consecutive years of high school, so they're all good fantasy players. I went 2-14 last season. That was my record. But at least I'm not the guy in my league that got a DUI. Yeah, he's a great fantasy player. He's been in the championship back-to-back years. But he's got some other things to worry about. Maybe more important than fantasy. I'm not sure if it's actually more important than fantasy. I can't say that for sure. I ended the season on a 10-game losing streak. But at least I'm not the other guy in my league that got a DUI. I'm Sean Matthews, all the Gillis Junior Fantasy Football League.